In this video and the next two videos, I will be looking at auditing. Auditing allows you to track Active Directory and file access in your organization. In this video, I will look at the concepts behind auditing, how it works, and what you need to know to start using it. In the next video, I will look at how to configure auditing to track changes in Active Directory. The video after this, I will look at how to configure auditing for file and folder access. To start with, I will look at the basic concepts of how auditing works. Let's consider an object in Windows. This could be a file or folder, user or computer account, or any other object that exists in Windows. In order to protect the object from unauthorized access, you require permissions. These are often referred to as Access Control List or ACL. If a user requires access to an object, they require permissions to that object. In order to determine if the user has access, they are looked up in an access control list called Direct Access Control List, or DACL. This works well for permissions like read and write, but does not work well with auditing. To understand why, consider that access control and auditing are performed by two separate systems. If you wanted to audit which users authenticated off a particular domain controller, would you require access to the user account and information inside the user account, like group membership? The answer is no. In order to allow auditing to access an object that it may not have traditional permissions configured for, like read and write, a separate ACL is created called the System Access Control List, or SACL. You can see by having two ACLs, permissions and auditing can be separated. In other words, a single ACL is divided into two parts, the DACL and the SACL. To demonstrate this better, I will open the Advanced Security options for the root of my domain. Notice on the Permissions tab, there is a list of access permissions for the root domain. These define permissions like read and write. On the Audit tab, this defines audit entries. Unlike permissions, these define actions like success and fail. This is another reason why you want them separated. Combining these two into the one list would overly complicate things. If I exit out of here, the next question that arises is this. What happens when an object is configured for a particular auditing event and that event happens? For example, let's say you are auditing users' logons and a user logs on. What happens is the audit policy for that computer determines if that event is recorded in the event log. If the audit policy for that computer is not configured to audit that event, it is not recorded. This is starting to get a little complicated, so let's have a look at auditing from a different angle. In this example, if you wanted to audit all user authentications, that is, successes and failed logins, the audit policy needs to be configured to allow this. In this case, you do not need to change any SACL on the users to allow this. The default SACL in Active Directory allows this kind of auditing. If you are auditing files and folders, however, you will need to change the SACL for the files and folders you want to audit. The audit policy will determine which events will be recorded. The events that are recorded are then stored in the event viewer. You can see that logging events, both success and failure, are being recorded in the event viewer since the audit policy has been configured to record them. You can see that if the audit policy has changed, login and failed events will no longer be recorded. Having a system like this means that you can easily change which events are being audited without having to change any of the SACLs on any of the objects. Why would you need a system like this? It should be remembered that systems like auditing put extra load on Windows and can quickly fill the security logs depending on what you are auditing. For these reasons, many administrators prefer to switch auditing on when required or only audit a few events unless there is a need to audit more. Having one or a few security policies is a lot easier than changing hundreds or thousands of users when you need auditing enabled. This covers the basics of how auditing works in Windows. In the next video, I will look at how to implement auditing in Active Directory, and the video after this how to audit file and folder access. If you want to receive more free videos from us, please feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube. As always, thanks for watching.